In this ageless valley, a new breed of warrior has been born. Born to rage against the silence of these ancient rocks. Born to tear apart the very fabric of the desert. Born to win at any cost. The stage is set. A storm is coming. The land braces itself. Welcome to MotorStorm.
Hey guys, what's up? Nick here once again, and welcome back to Do You Remember? Today we're going to be checking out MotorStorm on the PlayStation 3. MotorStorm is a franchise of racing games that were only available on the PlayStation 3 system. Sadly, they kind of disappeared after the third installment, which was Apocalypse. We had MotorStorm, MotorStorm Pacific Rift, and then MotorStorm Apocalypse, and then that was it. And every game had its own place, in my opinion, in the arcade racing genre. They were really well made, had a lot of fun in terms of their gameplay, but I think the biggest reason these games were usually in everyone's PlayStation library was because of its graphics. It was a graphical showcase for the PlayStation 3 system, and it still to this day really shines in terms of its look. So with that said, let's jump into it. We're going to be mostly cutting this out of the video here, but man, this game has some long load times. Again, that probably just has to do with how great this game looks for the PS3, and it was a launch title, so we can't really be ratting on it too much. But this game was also pretty cool because you could play as multiple different types of vehicles. So right here, we're looking at the dune buggy vehicles, but there was everything from like motorcycles to ATVs, just to rally cars, and then you got these guys. And I think the monster trucks and stuff like that didn't come until the sequel, but this game still had a lot to choose from right out the gate. Let's just go with the pink wombat. All right, long loading times finally out of the way. Let's get into the race. Man, right off the rip, this is still blowing my mind. This is a PS3 game. This could easily pass as a PS4 release, in my opinion. They clearly got away with a lot of the fidelity by not having much of a, what do you call it? There's not much like range to the visuals. You can see a lot of pop-in going on. It's kind of a technique they used back in the day on like the PS1, but it's kind of cool they were able to implement it here without it looking too obvious. It's because I'm looking for it, and I'm also playing this on a 4K monitor, that it really sticks out. But I mean, if you played this on standard definition, you would not have noticed anything, and this game would have looked insane back then for sure. Gameplay-wise, though, it's a stereotypical racer, arcade racer, I should say. The physics aren't super realistic, but they are on the slippery, boaty kind of side, if you will. If you play GTA 4, you'll know what I'm talking about, when cars feel like you're driving a boat. And then not only that, but you have some pretty tight handling all around the board, except for just the terrain makes it really slippery and sluggish. And then you have your boost meter on the left side there. You can use it infinitely, but if you overheat your engine, you explode and die, which is kind of hilarious. And that's another big thing for this game is the wrecks. So just like in Burnout, they really try to glorify like running into walls and running opponents into walls and just crashing in general. The spectacle of your car exploding and having all the debris going everywhere just like that was one of the biggest sellers of the game. And it honestly isn't even that big of an issue, or like it's not an annoyance, I guess I should say, because the AI is pretty forgiving from what I remember throughout the entire game. So even if you get far behind, there is a little bit of catch-up added to the game, not the condiment, but the actual feature, so that you can catch up back to the AI, even if they're destroying you all the way up in first. The soundtrack was another big thing for this game that I remember absolutely loving. I don't remember the soundtrack from the sequels, but I do specifically remember that this game had Pitch Shifter in it, which the last time I heard them in a video game was Twisted Metal 3. So that was a huge nostalgia boost, and I love that they were in a game back in, when did this come out, like 2007, 2006? So it was pretty cool to hear them in this game's soundtrack. But yeah, they had a ton of other well-named bands at the time, kind of like new metal and hard rock. They had some EDM and pop. It was a really good mix that really got you in the mood for racing. Obviously, I can't play them here in this video, sadly. I also had to change the original music in the intro because of DMCA strikes. But I do recommend checking this game out just for the soundtrack alone, because you're going to be like, wow, those are some bops. And they even had like Slipknot in there as well. It's just a really unique mix of soundtracks that I want to say they carried over into the sequels as well. Oh, and at the beginning, I did state that there was 3 games in the series. There's technically 4. I forgot about the one that came out on PSP and on the PlayStation 2, which ironically was the last one in the series, which was Arctic Edge. And I actually played that one quite a lot on the PSP. I absolutely loved it. A lot of fun on the go, and it actually looked pretty good for the system. And even though it was a later release in the series, it still holds up. And again, ironically, it came out for the previous generation for some weird reason. It never came out on PS3, and it never came to PS4. It was just kind of its own thing. I'm not sure what happened there. If somebody knows the lore of MotorStorm and would like to explain that in the comments, that would be amazing. There's also shortcuts on every single track, as you can see here. Some of the shortcuts, I will admit, aren't necessarily shortcuts. Like this one is just meant to make it more difficult, I guess, or look cool and get some crazy air. But all around, you're wasting your time because more often than not, you're going to crash than to actually get ahead of everybody. I also remember if you're driving like on the ATVs or the motorcycles here, you're at such a disadvantage because everybody can just ram you off the road. And you're very weak. You are a little bit faster than everybody else, but not by like a mile or anything. So I don't know. I never liked playing as the dirt bikes or the ATVs in this game just because of that reason alone. I liked the dune buggies a lot, the rally cars a lot. I don't really know if I ever played like the big trucks or anything. They're supposed to have differences in attributes for like, for instance, the trucks can go through mud and stuff a lot easier than like my car, for instance. And then these are supposed to be better for handling, and then the bikes obviously are for speed and maneuverability, but in reality, the game actually made every car feel pretty balanced to each other, where no one felt overpowered, or like they tried to make it almost like a team shooter, if you will, where you're trying to make everybody play to their own style. So you got like the healer, you got the ADS, you know, it's just, I don't know. I think they went a little bit overboard with trying to make the cars feel differently, but in reality, they ended up all being the same. But I don't know. But even coming back to this game in 2024, it still feels really good to play. I could see this one getting old a little bit quicker than games like Burnout, for instance, because those games had a little bit extra gameplay to them. It wasn't just a straight-up race. There actually was other game modes like Takedown and stuff where the whole objective is to knock people off the track. I feel they honestly could have done something like that in this game, but maybe they would have been, I don't know, maybe people would have been pissed off because they would have been copying Burnout at that point, I suppose, but I still think they could have gotten away with it and just named it something different. And then they could have had extra game modes to make it a little bit more interesting. Because I think all this game has is race and then time trials. I don't believe there's any other type of game modes that I remember. We ended up actually getting second, which is kind of... Oh, never mind. We got third. Ripperoni. Oh, yeah. I think I found my thumbnail. So, yeah, I decided to try out one of the bikes just to get a feel for it, because it's been years since I played this game, and I'd only remember little bits and pieces of trying the bikes in this one. But this is one of the races where you're forced to play as a bike. Yep, this is what I remember. Beautiful. But yeah, this is one of the races where you're forced to play as a bike, so everybody else is one as well, so it's not, I guess, underpowered at that point, but my god. Jeez, I forgot just how weak these guys are, but whoo, hello, mama. But yeah, MotorStorm and bikes, ATVs, cool idea. I don't know how well the execution was done, though. I feel like look at this. I feel like the handling should be a little bit better. Although, to be fair, I'm not in the area of the map where I should be. That area down there is meant for the bigger trucks because it's muddy. So I'm supposed to be higher up on like the wooden trails where I'll get the best performance with my bike, so to speak. arcade racers in general have kind of died out, though, in these most recent years. It's really a bummer. I feel like we could get a huge resurgence of games like Need for Speed, Burnout, MotorStorm. I'm trying to think of other ones, like Split Second was really good, Blur was really good. I feel if we got remasters of all those games, or just remakes, or just a reboot, so to speak, I feel that they would do really well, if not, like, insanely well, and bring a whole new, like, generation of people to these amazing arcade racers. Obviously, we can still go back and play the oldies, like I'm doing right here, but sadly, these aren't as accessible as a brand new game would be for most people. I don't know many people who still own PS3s anymore, and they're kind of tough to get now. And they're a little bit overpriced, if I'm being honest, if you just want to buy one as a console for fun. I do feel that the sense of speed is a little bit quicker on the bike for sure, compared to the dune buggy thing I was driving earlier. But man, it just does not feel like I have enough traction that I should, at least, as like right there. Like, I feel like I should have been able to turn enough where I wouldn't have gone off the wall and hit that. Thankfully, the game didn't kill me there. I also like how short and sweet these races are, too. They are 3 laps, but the maps are pretty small, so they don't feel overbearing. I feel there is a lot of racing games I've played recently where they just go on for way too long. Each race just feels like a drag after, like, 2 laps. So it's good to see that the map design here is relatively on the smaller side to be short and sweet. And from what I remember, most of the tracks in MotorStorm, the original, were in this desert wasteland, so the actual environments did sort of get a little bit monotonous after time. There is weather effects, though. I remember there was some rain levels and stuff like that. But for the most part, this is the gist of the game. You're not going to see much more here. They got way more involved in the sequels. I remember Pacific Rift added a ton of different environments, from like volcanoes to like Hawaii to like Amazon jungles and stuff like that. It was really cool, and I loved the atmosphere in that game. I think they just went above and beyond there. But they did change up the physics a lot in the second game to make it even more slippery. So that's why I feel like the game play itself feels better in the first game. But overall, I think I prefer the second just because of the environments. But yeah, I think that's going to be it for today for Do You Remember? This was MotorStorm on the PlayStation 3 system. This was not an emulator. This was the actual hardware. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you guys played MotorStorm back in the day and you enjoyed these games, let me know in the comment section below which one was your favorite in the series. I always love hearing your thoughts on it and seeing people come back to these nostalgic games. And if you want to see more videos like this, make sure to leave a like, share, support as always, and subscribe so you don't miss the next one. I'll hopefully see you in the next one. Peace out, everybody.